I think every leader should be aware of the day-to-day reality of the life of his teammates. The day-to-day reality, even if I'm building a software product or creating a platform which is going to change the world, does not change the fact for my employee that he has to drop a special needs child to the school at the other end of the city and then come. Doesn't change the fact that some of my backbone leaders have EMIs to pay. Doesn't change the fact that they have got aging parents whom they have to look after. My loco standi as a leader does not allow me to say, "Tum wo sab bhul jao, focus only on this." No.
Captain Raghu, thank you so much for joining us for this interview. We'll start directly with the questions. You've led teams in battle zones and national security. What principles from that world do you believe business leaders urgently need to adopt today?
I'm not getting into the stakes and what happens in battlefields. I'm just going to limit it to what is relatable from any battlefield. And when I say battlefield, doesn't necessarily need to be a combat scenario. Any sort of a battlefield which could happen between businesses, or which could happen battling COVID, battling AI, anything that we had not planned for. My sense is that a battlefield brings the most ambiguous environment, because you really cannot rely on any information that comes to you as 100% factual information. It could be a misinformation campaign by the enemy. It could be deception. Deception is not being practiced now. It's been practiced for Trojan horse was a deception. So the environment is not just ambiguous, but the environment is being shaped to make it more ambiguous for you. So one is to go into an environment which you don't know anything about, and you will struggle to operate in that. The other is where an environment has been created to deceive you. So one of the skills I think leaders need to have is the ability to operate in a very high degree of, I won't even say ambiguity, but very high degree of disinformation, where the information that is coming, I know that, I've been guilty of it myself, that we often have a tendency to look for information that validates our beliefs, or validates our proclamations, or validates what we think is the right thing to do. Now imagine a scenario where the adversary or the environment is actively working to make you believe in disinformation. So I think leaders, one of the things they can learn definitely from a battlefield environment is you have to be absolutely ruthless in terms of examining every piece of information that comes to you for its authenticity, for its factualness. And we have a saying check and double check that once you have done. The second is to rely a lot on your own capabilities, on your own competencies. I'll give you an example that after every pitch that would happen, I used to run a consulting firm at one point of time. I would ask the person who made the pitch, how do you think the pitch went? How do you think the pitch went? Now let's assume that you are fantastic, it was a great pitch, and we don't get the order. Then I have to calibrate my sensor accordingly. I have to say, okay, if Thomas goes and says it's very good, then I have to discount it by 10% or 20%, because in my planning figure I have to discount this person's proclivity towards being over optimistic. Similarly, I may have a person who's very, very skeptic, but actually his hit rate may be better. So I think one of the jobs of a leader is to start examining what is the information he can rely on 100%, which will usually be the capabilities of his team, the camaraderie that he or she has created, the culture that you have created in the organization, and be absolutely comfortable that external ambiguity I'll deal with. I think a lot of leaders do the opposite. They try to seek a lot of clarity from the external ecosystem, which by definition is a wrong thing to do, because the external ecosystem itself is not clear, and they are fairly ignorant about internal capabilities. If they just reversed it and said that internal capability I cannot be surprised on, because this is my own team, my own operating setup, my own promoters, my own VCs, I cannot be surprised by them. External, I must train myself to live with a high degree of ambiguity. I think if we do these, matter of fact, even in the armed forces, as you rise up in rank, your annual confidential report, the metrics on which you are tested, they change. And in the highest levels, it is your ability to tolerate ambiguity which is measured. That do you have a high tolerance for ambiguity? But if you're a person who needs, no, everything has to be cut to cut, I need to know exactly, the schedule has to be, you may not do very well in higher upper echelons of leadership of any organization, not just the armed forces, but any organization. Because at that level, you have to be very, very comfortable operating in a high degree of ambiguity.
Similar to Operation Sindoor, where
I don't want to I don't want to take a comparison of any operation because I know it's a buzzword right now, but most people don't know the background and the, so it almost seems like adding Op Sindoor in any conversation these days will get you more hits.
Specifically in this context.
Yeah. Yes, but I would much rather keep my answer limited to the corporate.
All right.
And to say that for corporate leaders must have early warning systems. They must, a good example I would give you is AI. And for any strategic leader who's listening to what we are conversing, to put a hand on their heart and ask them, when did they first discover AI? When did they discover ChatGPT? Last year, somewhere around April, May, June, July. Yeah. So did every other kid. So how can a large company say we have got a very deep horizon, we know what's over the horizon, when we all discover something which was so game changing simultaneously with a kid who's scrolling through his phone, right? So I think this humility to constantly keep validating whether what we know is the totality of what there is to know, which will never happen, but having the humility to say, I know only about 20-30%, that's it, maybe less, maybe 10%, 90% I still have to discover. Usually the mindset as we go higher is that 90% I know, 10% is what I have to discover, which I think is the wrong way to look at it, because then your approach itself is there's only a 10% gap, so you look for only 10% slices of information. You will not look for a wide canvas. But if you say 90% gap, you are willing to forego the 10% you know also. To say, okay, I know Newtonian physics ka 10%, but 90% I don't know. Now I need to learn quantum physics. Let me just shed everything and start from scratch.
Yeah.
Right? So that ability to repaint your canvas again and again, I think that is one of the strongest things which I believe leaders must know in an environment that we are going to be facing.
Okay. Coming to the next question, from building NATGRID to working with defense and corporate systems, what have you learned about aligning diverse stakeholders toward a shared mission, especially when trust is low and stakes are high?
This is a very good question, because this is something that I have struggled with throughout my career in whatever position I have been in, whether as a leader or even as a follower. I have realized that while team members may have an overarching purpose to which they will all subscribe, at least overtly. So if in a conference room I say, hey, this will take India to the next level, this will provide jobs to another 1 million people, I don't think anyone in the room will disagree. Everyone will, yeah, this will do it. But I think every leader should be aware of the day-to-day reality of the life of his teammates. The day-to-day reality, even if I'm building a software product or creating a platform which is going to change the world, does not change the fact for my employee that he has to drop a special needs child to the school at the other end of the city and then come. Doesn't change the fact that some of my backbone leaders have EMIs to pay. Doesn't change the fact that they have got aging parents whom they have to look after. So having this reality of the knowledge of the troops that we are commanding and knowing what is their day-to-day driver. Of course, there is an overarching purpose, and I think everyone who works, any person who comes to the workplace does want to make a difference, does want their day to count well. When I read these surveys of Gallup, which says that close to 60, 70, 80% in some cases employees are disengaged, I don't think an employee dresses up in the morning, I haven't done that ever, ki aaj to yaar main disengage hoke jaunga. I don't think that happens. I think people by and large are engaged, but things happen to them on a daily basis or maybe an hourly basis which disengages them. Maybe it's a disappointment about not getting fair due, maybe it's not being treated well, maybe it's not being kept, maybe it's just drawing up some things which are not true, but in the imagination of that individual it's true. Maybe it's dissonance between what the leaders say in the town hall and what they say in the appraisal. You know, there's a big delta. Leaders will say, take risk, do this, do that. Appraisal mein bolega, kaun bola tere ko sochne ko. So it's a dichotomy that they encounter. So all of these factors go into what I call the mojo factor of the team. The mojo factor of the team is nothing but the combined sort of consolidated mojo factor of each individual. I think it's a leader's job to ensure that the mojo factor is taken higher and higher and higher. And the only way you can do that is to find what is the driver of each individual. There is an overarching script and there is a real script. And that real script is where most of us will spend 70 to 80% of our thrust, not on the overarching, so we all agree, for example, that, India should be a clean country and we should not dirty our place and we should be egalitarian, but you will still fight in the line to take the lunch plate because at that point of time, you want to be ahead in the line, right? We cannot discount this. We have to take both of these and say, this is the composite unit of my team. And my team will have the nobility of purpose, the grandioseness of earth-moving ambitions and aspirations and leaving a mark, but they will also have the need for getting a better salary, to go back home and spend time with their children, to be responsible for other roles that they play in their life. And I cannot divorce one from the other. My locus standi as a leader does not allow me to say, tum wo sab bhul jao, focus only on this. No. If I am a leader, then an empathetic leader, then I need to know for him attending the girl's recital, daughter's recital is probably more important than being ready or preparing for a board meeting. Right? If we understand that, usually we'll be able to, sort of navigate the ecosystem well. And I have to tell you this, that while you phrased your question, you said, you almost made it sound as if no, it was NATGRID came up. I happened to be fortunate enough to be part of that team. But I think we learned from each other as much as somebody has to be a notional leader, yes. And maybe I was that. But the lifting of the entire, and it was a new organization. Any new organization, when you're raising an organization, it's literally like, if you remember these big tents that are lifted up, everybody has to lift up at the count of 3. I cannot say I am CEO, so I'll stand in the center and I'll lift. I'll be drowned by the tent. I'll be suffocated. It is gathering the people around, discovering that someone may have a shoulder pain, so he can't lift beyond this. Someone has some other issue because of which they can't do it. And arranging this team in such a way that at the count of 3, when we lift, we all lift more or less together for the same. And each person may have a different reason. There may be a person who's joined because of X reason, another who's joined because of Y reason, doesn't really matter. What matters is now that we are all together in this boat, how are we motivating this team to find a purpose literally on a daily basis? The overarching purpose will keep the North Star, but the daily basis is what will make
building steps, or
not just today, but today afternoon exciting and today evening exciting. Right? I think we have to pay attention to both of them. I think a lot of us, abdicate our responsibility to look at the nitty-gritty, very grand vision we have given, and then we are going to move the needle. And I think it's also important to say that on a daily basis, what are the victories that are happening.
You have often said storytelling is a strategic weapon. How can leaders use narrative to drive clarity and action in times of chaos?
So I don't really think most leaders have really understood the brahmastra that storytelling is. It's almost like this. It's only if you do some serious yoga or serious martial arts or serious meditation, only then you will realize the importance of correct breathing. Otherwise, if I have to tell somebody, hey, breathing, I've been done ever since I've been born. I've been breathing. First thing I did was breathing, and I'm breathing. I don't even need to think about it. But that's not correct breathing. Similarly, I don't think people have understood the power of storytelling as a narrative, because let's go back to fundamental basics. For civilization to start in a nation, for a nation to start, it needs basic certain fundamentals. Firstly, it needs arable land which can produce surplus. Only then a nation will happen. If you are on hand to mouth, every day you are harvesting some, every day you are plucking some fruits and eating it, there is no surplus. If there is no surplus, there is no surplus capacity. There is no one working on art and culture, no one doing schools, everyone is just gathering. So you need surplus. Second, you need a certain demography, a certain critical mass of people. Alaska cannot become a nation, Australia could never become a nation because the Aborigines was so thin in terms of their density of population that they cannot ever get the critical mass. But the most important thing is, what is the common narrative that these people share? That common narrative is nothing but storytelling. So one leader could be a religious leader who says there is no God except this one God, or it could be a business leader, or it could be a political leader who says we'll put a man on the moon by the end of this decade. This narrative is what binds these people together into one hood, whether that is nationhood, whether it is company, whether there is a community. So to my mind, the only job of strategic leaders, is to build that narrative. It is not to say, oh, I know ChatGPT is better than Claude and it is better than that. That's not the job. It is to build a narrative which says that we are all together as one, and we are together as one for this purpose. This constant getting them together and constant narration of purpose, that is the only true job of a strategic leader. Rest everything there are other people to do. A strategic leader doesn't have to be a great technologist, he doesn't have to be a great finance person, doesn't have to be a great HR person, but he needs to get these three great people or even average people to work together and achieve greatness. That can only be done by storytelling. You can't inspire people with statistics and Excel sheets. You have to inspire with the story of one. That this is the story of how, and because stories are the programming language of the brain. Let's put it as simply. So every epic that you were taught, every Panchatantra tale you were told, every story you were told from Bible, each one of these was nothing but a script that was being added to your brain to help you grow. And if the programming language of the brain is storytelling, why won't you learn the programming language of the brain? Why would you say, no, I don't want to learn the program? I mean, it's like saying I'm going to be commissioned into a Maratha Paltan, but I won't learn Marathi. It's as simple as that. I mean, if a leader is going to be swaying people, and when I say people, not just his own people, even customers. When he goes to recruit people, if he has to create that, or she has to create that brand ambassadorship, how will she create it? By saying which all colleges I went to, or look at my credentials, or see my certificates which are hanging in my office? Or is it by telling narratives and stories which actually create that persona, create a vision of something that people want, create an actual image of something which is still not there. The ability to manifest something begins by first imagining it, and imagination is nothing but storytelling. Right? So I think that's the reason why I believe it's the most important tool that a leader, and a lot of people confuse, they think storytelling is standing in front of a PowerPoint presentation and reading out the slides. Storytelling has two components to it. There is one component which is crafting a story. That's serious work. It's almost the same kind of work that authors have to do before they write a Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. The story has to be crafted. The second is, how do you deliver it? How do you tell it? That's a performance. It's not Jack and Jill went up the hill and then they came. It can't be that. It has to have the pathos, the ethos, it's a performance. It's almost like a person performing a play. You get into the skin of that role and then you perform that role. So it's a very sophisticated art form, and it's nothing new. Plato said it 500 years ago. He said, those who tell stories will rule the world. Ho bhi raha, happening, isn't
Interesting. Yes. In your experience coaching CXOs, what's the most common blind spot you see when it comes to leading through uncertainty?
I think the C-suite requires a very tricky blend. It requires the blend of a leader who is not fazed by uncertainty, who's not fazed with uncertainty, who has the sense of calm. We'll figure it out. And that basically means that she must have deep confidence in her capabilities. She must have deep confidence in her advisors, team, mentors, somebody she can pick up the phone and talk to and say, I need advice in this, or I need a CTO to validate this business plan, or I've got this team which is presenting to me, but I would like another look-see. And at the same time, be able to exude a sense of confidence to the rank and file. The rank and file needs to believe that this leader will take them out of this uncertainty. Now, this blend has to happen without getting arrogance into the picture. So you can also have a lot of leaders who are extremely arrogant or extremely overconfident or have a very high opinion about their knowledge, which may not be true. So this excellent blend of a leader who is, when facing the troops, is able to exude that confidence that this person will navigate you out of this mess, and at the same time have the humility and a slight tinge of fear of not doing the wrong thing, of having guardrails which make sure that your past successes don't make you so reckless. You know, they used to have a tradition when the Roman generals used to come back after successful campaigns. As they came up to receive the awards and the city lined up around them, there would be a person whispering into the ears of the general, "Thou art mortal, thou art mortal," which is telling him that, look, you are mortal, you are just a human. This blend of knowing that you are fallible, you would probably have scripts from your previous successes which you will try to implement in the next success. You need a very strong bouncing board, not just a strong bouncing board, but an honest bouncing board, which will bounce back straight. It won't say, "Aisa bounce kiya to kahin aur chala gaya ball." You know, it can't be it has to be a straight bouncing, which if you bounce, the ball tells you, no, I don't think you were right in this or whatever. So if you are able to create that blend between humility and confidence that you exude, confidence in your capabilities, your drills, your competence, humility to say this may not be enough, we may still require a lot of inputs, or we may require to discover, and we may discover stuff that is not very pleasant to us, but we must still acknowledge it and move forward. So I think those qualities, if a leader has, they should be able to navigate out of uncertainty, because at the end of the day, it's leaders who have to navigate out of uncertainty, right? And we have so many presidents ahead of us. Human beings have navigated to islands. They have landed up in Maldives, in Mauritius, when they only had papyrus boats, and they did it. So if they can do it, I'm pretty sure that with our generation, with our better genes, better nutrition, more technology, we really cannot have an excuse. So, you know, very often when I go to these old temples or go to see Taj Mahal and all, I actually wonder, banaya kaise inhone yaar? Without email, without MS project, everything had to be done by hand. Even a plan had to be shown to somebody else in paper. If you wanted 20 copies of the architectural plan, 20 people or 20 teams would have had to sat to. How did they do it? If they could do it, if they could have that eye of detail that you can change the font line by line, trigonometrically, to make sure that they look the same size as in Fatehpur Sikri. Why do we have a challenge getting an alignment of a website right, or you know, all of that? Because it's the same genes at the end of the day. I mean, it's the same. We are supposed to be more evolved. We are supposed to be more evolved. So yeah, that's what I would think is the right way to approach uncertainty. To have the belief in your strengths, your past achievements. Not when I say your, I mean organizational past achievements. And at the same time, have the humility to say that this may not be enough. We may have to reinvent, we may have to discover something else that is coming from I mean, it's like when you start something like this, you have huge expertise in journalism. You've cut your teeth, you also personally, in some of the finest publications. But yeah, this space is new. Doesn't change the fundamentals of communication, doesn't change the fundamentals of articulation, doesn't change the fundamental of putting across an idea and backing it up with proof and you know, the whole sequence of how do you convey an idea. But mindshare has changed. Now in 30 seconds we have to do it. But tools have also changed. What you had to show earlier with 20 slides, you can show it with one video today. This ability to adapt I think is the key. I know it's a cliche to say, but we must have a procedure for adaptation. There should be a procedure which says I will look at what doesn't change from my current repertoire, what needs to change in the new repertoire, and how will we make this change happen? How will we validate that the change that is happening correctly, right direction, right quantity, with prototypes, with a few experimentations, and not because some person suddenly decides, I think pink is a nice color, and then everyone is doing survey to show why pink is a nice color. Not that way.
Yeah. This is the last question. What does resilience actually look like when systems break down, whether on the battlefield or in a boardroom?
I think resilience first is calm. There has to be calmness. The moment there is discord, it's literally every man for himself. Obviously, if there's discord, everyone is safeguarding their safety first. But if there's calmness, okay, we have never ever encountered this before, it's a major issue, chalo ab ho gaya, this has happened, now let's see, how are we going to do damage control, how do we do this? That calm, cool, calm, composed demeanor is the best thing a crisis leader brings to the crisis. If the crisis leader is calm, if the crisis leader, you see a doctor, when you go and visit a doctor on some major issue, doctor, Thomas, chill. We'll handle it. We have done many such cases before. Ho jaya. Yes, serious hai mamla, but we know the protocols. We know exactly what. That sense of, okay, somebody knows what needs to be done. I think that is the first requirement of resilience. First requirement of resilience is that leadership, it could be one, it could be the leadership cohort, which says, don't worry, we will tackle it. And this is a trait that I have seen in all the leaders I've worked with. That something when it explodes, something which is massive that happens, I haven't seen those leaders getting very perturbed. It's okay, it's happened, it's all right, these things happen, these storms will come, we'll weather the storm, it's all right, we'll weather it. How do we know? We have done it, yeah. We are veterans of many, many storms. Those storms came, we weathered it, we have seen the downturn, we saw the OPEC oil price crash, .com boom happening, bloom happening, all of those things we have seen. So if we have navigated through all that, and we have at a personal level, none of us, sitting here or even watching this show has not had their personal battles, have survived sicknesses. Each one of us has survived at least one or two fatal accidents which we missed by the skin of our, we have all survived some fatal illnesses. So I think we've had those battlefield scars. In times of crisis, leaders must remind themselves that they have seen a lot of crises in the past. And also they should calibrate. They should calibrate that you and I and every person watching this show, watching this video, whoever and whatever problem they think is their biggest problem, a board meeting tomorrow, or this year sales not happening, or a key employee leaving, is nothing compared to one medical report. You get one medical report which comes, it will suddenly remind us that what we are doing is actually playing Monopoly. You know the game Monopoly? With real money. That's all we are doing. And how real was real money we saw during COVID? When multi-billionaires died alone inside a hospital, holding some piece of plastic or metal, not even a human hand. So if that are the stakes at which we are playing, then why get so stressed up about some quarter result not happening or some major debacle that happened? That okay, wo hua hai, crisis ko solve karna padega. Yes, because that's also important. People will lose jobs and livelihoods will be affected and all of that. But I think we need to put it in perspective. To say it's not the end of the world. We have survived storms bigger than this. So I think the first thing I have found, at least, both as a recipient of leadership during a major crisis, and also hoping to be that leader. For much of my career, I was head of risk or head of security. So as I often used to tell, my friends, the phone will never ring with good news. If you're head of risk or security, it will always ring with bad news. Over a period of time, you kind of develop an algorithm to say that, okay, this chaos has happened, it's bigger than any other chaos that I've handled in the past, but if I break it down, it looks similar to this chaos, and this chaos. And if I put those pieces together, we will sail past this. And usually I found just providing that calm, cool, of course it doesn't come just by deep breathing. It comes by knowledge of decades
experience.
Been there, done that, handled it.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I know the board is extremely upset with this, but we have handled upset boards before. And we also have developed our own algorithms to be able to deal with. One of the algorithms I developed over the years, which I would definitely like to tell anybody who wants to, if the screw up has happened, up front accept it.
Yeah.
Up front say, I am the leader, screw up has happened, my head of sales has made the mistake, I take the moral accountability for it. I've just taken it. Ho gaya, chalo kissa khatam. Now let's fix it. A lot of leaders will spend a lot of energy in wasting time justifying why it was not their fault. Doesn't really matter. You are the CEO, you are the CXO. It's happened. It doesn't matter whether it's a bit like saying that your TV is broken and you want to watch the cricket match. Doesn't really matter who broke the TV. It's broken now. Now you have to either fix it or find a neighbor in whose house you can go and watch it. So focus your energies on that. Tune patthar pheka. No, you did it. No, it blew out because of you. That doesn't solve. So I like to see leaders when there is a chaos happening who are cool, calm, composed in their demeanor. I like to see these leaders when I'm a follower also. I don't want a panicking doctor. If I go to a doctor, I don't want a panicking doctor. I don't want a panicking pilot. I don't want a panicking surgeon. So why would our troops want a panicking CEO? Right? We would also expect, our troops would also expect, that if some panicky situation happens, don't worry.
You need somebody to
3 महीने का तनख्वाह अपने पास रिजर्व है, धंधा आए नहीं आए, we'll be able to tackle it. Don't worry. Now within 90 days we have to figure out how to get that. The major client has left us. We have to figure out how to, whatever 90 days, don't worry, we'll figure it out. That's the kind of terminology, verbiage I want to live. I don't want to live. We will lost our major client. How will we manage? We've only got 90 days left. You do that, people go into self-survival mode. They go into the mode कि यहाँ से नौकरी छोड़ना चाहिए क्या? Should I leave this job? They will go into self-survival mode. But if you radiate calmness, then they'll put in their best energies to extricate out of that current situation. So that's the way I would sort of phrase that.
Great. So the audience would now have had a first-hand experience of the impact of storytelling now from the captain. So thank you so much, Captain, for the insightful thoughts. Thank you so much.